Welcome to the Opportunity Knocks podcast by EmpowHer Purpose, hosted by me, Michelle Valenzuela Wolf. Every week, we feature different extraordinary female entrepreneurs in the business and wellness segments on just that, opportunities. These segments deep dive into how these courageous women transition into their purpose. We want to give you permission to discover, pursue, and achieve your goals. We learn and reaffirm that life is never linear. It's how we as women choose to take, make, create, and evaluate opportunities. Remember, it's all gonna be okay. Thank you for your support and make sure to subscribe. Hey, Nick, how are you?
Fantastic, Michelle. Nice to see you today.
It's so nice to see you. I have to say, meeting you was like meeting an old friend. And I
Uh,
often say that, to be honest with you, but actually, we had like an amazing conversation from hello, like when we were introduced to one another. And I got off the phone and I was like, wow, can all conversations be that seamless and magical?
I hope so.
That's our goal, right?
That's a world that I want to participate in. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I actually think what that really says is we have a keen like-mindedness about us. It's sort of like the ability to draw positive energy from within people that attracts us to one another, I guess, right?
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, positive energy and just all the energy. It's like, I think we're in the business of moving energy at the end
Mm,
of the day.
yeah, definitely. So it's so interesting. So Nick is, I'm going to call you an adventurous, but I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself a little bit more, but more specifically at the Soulful event, we're going to have you focus on equine therapy, but you're so much more than that. I mean, honestly, the every time I talk to you, I mean, I think you were in 4 places this week, right? Uh, leading different adventures. And I like to live through you because you have like my freedom gene, my freedom value.
That's very kind. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. And if if I were to be remembered as one thing, I think being remembered as an equine therapist is probably one of the most important. And yeah, I appreciate just the accolades and the opportunity to be with you today, Michelle. So thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. So when we talk about equine therapy specifically, can you kind of give people a bit of education? I did an email about it in a blog post that kind of described it, but really hearing it from somebody who facilitates it every day. And I think that was the main thing that came through for me when we talk about energy, right? Because we both work in energy.
Mhm.
It was like I had forgotten how much energetic work moves through you by doing equine therapy. And I was super moved. So,
Totally. Yeah. And I would say how much energy moves through you and me and the horses and the natural world that's creating this abundant container for all of these things to exist simultaneously.
absolutely.
Uh, and in that regard, so my background is, I mean, I'm on a mission to help people build identity again with the natural world, the living, breathing world all around us that doesn't exist necessarily in technology or in our minds, but the world that exists in our hearts and the rhythm of the world all around.
Hmm.
So horses are, I mean, just such amazing creatures. And I would say that probably the easiest and the most simplest way is because horses lead with what's happening, what's real. Horses are not trading who they are for other horses to love them. Horses are who they are. And actually that creates safety for everyone else, the horses, the herd, and humans when they choose to interact with them.
Hmm. And I think that it was interesting when you bring up the word safety is that was actually our theme for the day that when we did equine therapy together and just by chance, right? It was a theme that I had picked actually that was a bit of a thoroughfare because for women, one of the greatest things that they want to feel is safe, right? And I think that one of the things that you did was not only as a facilitator, create a safe container, but in addition, you allowed me to see the necessity of my own interactive energy with others, including the horse and my surroundings, etc., which I am super aware of it. But that particular day, because, sometimes we like to live in this or coexist in this sort of like spiritual realm where we place ourselves in that environment to actually be that, right? Versus showing up as that no matter what environment you're in. And you're really good at that. Like, we were on a ranch, so it's different, but you kept shifting the perspective for me in a very reflective way that held space for me to make me feel safe.
Thank you.
Why do you
Yeah.
think that, like, how do you cultivate safety?
Yeah, it would be a miss for me just not to acknowledge it. In what you've just shared, I have just a lot of movement of energy happening through my body right now, and a lot of warmth, and actually just a ton of tenderness. So thank you for sharing your experience, and yeah, and bringing it into this space, and honoring the time that we had together. So that
Mhm.
means a lot to me.
Thank you.
And I'm one of the lucky folks that's just had an opportunity to work with some phenomenal teachers in my life. Those teachers have been humans. Those teachers have been horses. Those teachers have been my own shadow. I've made a lot of wrong decisions to figure out how to make a right decision, and to realize that there actually isn't wrong and right decisions. Uh,
Absolutely.
there's just being. And I guess the invitation for, maybe you asked like how I got here, or how did this happen, or what was the ingredients in this like special soup. And I think that to boil all that down, the answer is learning how presence and safety are one and the same. I
Hmm.
think that we as a society attach a lot of meaning to safety, and we attach a lot of meaning to presence. And I think the two of those are actually one and the same. And in order to be present, we have to feel safe. And in order to feel safe, we have to be present.
Hmm.
Uh, and presence is something today that it's actually like the biggest gift that we can give ourselves and we can give somebody else, because presence is a choice. It
Hmm.
is a choice to wake up in the morning and go to sleep at night, and in between choose to be present for what's unfolding, what's happening in the world around us. And when I shift that and I say it's a unique opportunity to wake up in the morning and go to sleep at night and feel safe all day long, they're actually like, it's kind of an interesting perspective to take here, because
It's also
safety,
interesting because we create our own safety within our presence,
right?
right? So a lot of times people think that that choice is something that is external to us instead
Mm.
of it is us.
Yes. Yeah.
So
That
we
like,
give our power away partially, right? By saying, say you're a woman and you're seeking a partner or a boyfriend or whatever it might be, even a friend for that matter. And you're like, that person makes me feel safe.
yeah.
But that's a farce.
I can't speak from the female perspective, but I can speak from the perspective of a desire to be in relationship with others, and finding safety in others is unfortunately how many people get stuck. I mean, even right now, like you, me together, we are now in this container,
Hmm.
and our containers often blend, or, there's a lot of things that happen when a container is created. And actually, and horses are a great model for this, is horses are not blending in with the other horses, though each horse is their own horse, and actually having that structure is what allow the other horses to trust them, because the less that we try to control, the more that we trust. And I think
Hmm.
that trust is what comes down to safety existing.
So are you saying that trust is built through flowing and being vulnerable?
Those are some scary buzzwords to say to a man. Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
All I heard was vulnerable. You lost me
You're
at vulnerable.
like, Nick was like,
Vulnerability is
holy
dangerous.
shit, did you just ask me to get married? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Um, no, but seriously,
No.
because it sounds like what you're saying is that to build the connection, right? Any connection, if we want to be
Sure.
in relation, we have to share some form of vulnerability, wouldn't you say?
I mean, without doubt. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be a connection without vulnerability. I mean, vulnerability at when I work with a lot of men, and vulnerability to a man that's stepping into work maybe for the first time, or this type of work for the first time, is vulnerability is often objectified as a weakness.
Hmm.
Um, and unfortunately, vulnerability is something or a term that can have all this meaning attached to it, but vulnerability is actually just opening this like portal into you seeing who I really am
Mm-hmm.
and finding safety and capacity in order to do that. So I would say that trust is actually the more times that I open myself up to another person, the willingness to do that because I know what to expect, or I know what not cognitively what to expect, but I know that over time, like there is a consistency and predictability to what will happen in relationship with another to trust them.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Interesting. So how, when we're working with horses, so like what I was able to experience myself, so there's a whole healing component that happens through the energetic exchange, right? Um, and what I was able to see was my own existence of energy, of how I communicate or don't communicate
Mhm.
clearly. And so when we're talking about building trust and you talk about consistency and showing up and all of that, with it's very similar with the horse, right? That if
Right.
I'm not giving clear cues, uh, that the horse doesn't know how to follow, right? Or wouldn't necessarily trust me to follow. Would you say?
Yeah. So I would say that this is actually like a part two to the part one, which is something that you actually wanted me to share with you, and send it to you in a voice note, and I'll just do that right now.
All
Which
right,
these
you're
are
allowed.
okay, permission granted.
I just want to make sure that it's nothing too personal, but it's okay.
Oh
Most
no, no, no. This was the
I'm an open
so
book anyways.
my mentor Dewey Freeman defines contact. So contact is the beginning of all this. Contact is the building block of
Oh,
human attachment.
yes, my little thoroughthread that I was looking for.
Yes. Okay. So contact is an attuned present moment where our energetic, emotional, spiritual, or physical boundaries touch another's. Um, so contact is like that sweet spot. Like whenever somebody is like, hey, what does this person need? It's like the answer is always contact. Contact is always the answer. So contact over time, when it's consistent and predictable, creates a connection.
Hmm.
Connection over time, when it's consistent and predictable, creates a relationship. A
Hmm.
relationship over time, when it's consistent and predictable, creates intimacy.
Hmm.
So instead of, I mean, previously we mentioned how to have a connection with the horse, and the way to have a connection with the horse is to start in contact,
Hmm.
right? That's the beginning. That's the origin. Contact. I would say that contact, the moment of conception in a being's life, the way their exchange happens with contact changes and shifts and basically defines the landscape that they live in today. I live in today, speaking to my own experience.
Hmm. Tell me about, if you could give me like an example contextually, how contact has worked and not worked in relation to like the healing process. Like, and sometimes because I think humans respond well to extremes, you know,
Sure.
it's they're like, oh, I get it. I see where I've done that. Like some of the things in my experience were a bit more subtle, and yet when you named it, I was like, oh, yeah, I see where. And then I also could witness my own frustration of not knowing how to quote unquote fix it, right? Because I'm a problem solver. So I was like, well, I maybe if I just relax a little bit more or if I breathe a little bit more, but wherever your doubts fall, there too is energy exchange with the horse, which you can
Totally.
see where if we use that same example with people, where that same could coexist.
Totally. Thank you. Those are all like great reflections. I would say that there's not a situation where contact would not work. So to answer your first question, contact always works. It may not work the way that you want it to work, but I mean, contact is always exactly what it is that we need.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I mean, I'm talking at like a very like we go all the way back to being like a young infant and like being fed in contact all the way to being on a Zoom call right now and here you and I mean have a sense that we're in contact. I know that we're in this together.
Mm-hmm.
What I would say probably your question is around what happens when somebody's not in contact, or what happens when we go through a hard time and contact breaks, or somebody doesn't stay with us through a hard time. And that, to me, is where a lot of these injuries, emotional, spiritual, physical, and energetic injuries take place, that develop over time. And that's what creates our nervous system, is when we go through these breaks of contact through a hard time, or a difficult exchange, or a stressful moment. And a lot of these happen for people pre-verbal, right? A lot of these happen like, very, very early in life. And that's what builds the template of how our nervous system responds when we go through a stressful moment the rest of our lives.
So is that called imprinting?
It could be called, it could be
Mhm.
imprinting, development. I mean, there's a
Yeah,
number of
exactly.
imprinting on our development. There's a number of interchangeable words, but the beautiful piece about this work and why it's so relational is that if we're imprinted in the beginning of life, then we have the opportunity now, in this moment, this present moment, to change and shift our imprint. And the way that
Absolutely.
we do that is with other people
Mm,
over and over and over again. And I also just want to acknowledge, or horses, or the natural world,
mm.
because contact does not just need to be between two
I
people.
totally
Contact
agree with
can
you.
be with the living world around us. And I think that that's one of the reasons I've shifted a lot of the work that I do to be back in relationship with the wild and with the wilderness, is because we are a part of that living, breathing wilderness, right? And
Mm,
when we create identity with that world around us, I mean, God, what freedom can exist? Like such endless horizons can exist when
absolutely.
we learn to co-regulate with the natural world.
Yeah, and I think you're right because traditionally, like as people grow older, many are not in natural worlds anymore, right? They detach almost from the natural world and don't even necessarily see it as a necessity to get back into the natural world to relate to something greater than themselves, right? I feel like a lot of the work that you're doing to bring people back into the natural world is imperative because like you're saying, we're all one. Like
We
when
are.
people say when we talk about meditation, and people will just say, well, meditation can be as simple as like going and staring at a flower, right? But that is actually helping us connect to the natural world. You don't
Mhm.
have to be in the Great Plains of Montana or, on my trail right behind me in order to feel uber connected, right? I mean, some of us need it. I do need a necessity like that, greater than myself. But I think simple things we can do to reconnect are very important. Would you say that?
I would say absolutely. I would also say I'm excited to ride with you this summer in Montana. As a side note,
Yes.
seems like a perfect time to mention that. And
Nick is doing a
you
retreat
know,
in Montana.
I
Just so
am,
you know.
yes.
And anybody who wants to join me can join me.
It's going to
He's
be a
pretty
great
much
time.
told me he's pretty much told me I'm going.
Yeah, I mean, what a beautiful opening, right?
Yeah.
To
Well,
actually practice all that we're speaking to right here.
yeah, and I would also say that it's like it just I feel like okay, we receive a calling and we have a choice if we want to listen. And I think that when we met, I mean, I don't even actually we met because we were gonna do equine therapy together. And then
Yeah.
this whole wellness thing kind of happened, and I was like, oh, wouldn't it be kind of cool to like have an equine therapy guy there, maybe? I'm gonna talk to this guy, I'll see what it's about. And so it's a curiosity, like following a calling.
I
It
mean,
seems like you're following your calling. I know you're getting
yeah,
down to this.
no, it feels really nice. To feel what I'm feeling right now.
Mm,
Yeah, I believe that my soul is the same mission as the soul of Earth, and that the work that I'm doing is actually, yeah. At one point in time, it was to help people remember that we're a part of the natural world. And I've realized that that actually may be outdated because so many folks are so separated from the natural world. And when we talk about the biggest crisis that exists in our society today is actually, I mean, I would say like loneliness is an epidemic, and loneliness is
real epidemic.
caused by individualism. Like our society is based so heavily on the self, and we have to shift back into community centric way of living if we want to survive.
Mhm.
And that means like taking care of the earth, and in exchange, earth take care of us, take care of our neighbor, and our neighbors takes care of us. Like we have to stop living in this mentality that I am the center of the world, and once again realize that I am a part of this entire world, and actually like the way that I move in the world can shift and change the entire world around me. And when we spend ample time in the outdoors, and one of the reasons I create spaces in the outdoors is because it, it at no fault to anyone, it's not easy to do. It's not like, hey, let me just go walk outside and be safe. Coming back to the theme of safety, it's like, how do we find safety in the outdoors if we've never been there before?
Mhm.
Right? Like my soul may say, hey, I need to go outside, but logistically, I don't know how to do that. And so a
Isn't
lot of
that
the work that
interesting
I've really invested,
that it's so
yeah.
foundational and can be so simple, but we have hit such a difference or a deference. It is intangible for so many people. The concept is too overwhelming to think about how to incorporate the natural world into themselves. And yet that's where energy is derived from, is from the natural world back to us, right? We mirror that energy.
Just a yes. And so I had a men's group this morning, and one of the dads from the Palisades, we were sitting there just like soaking the sun up. And he was like, did you know that that sun that you're feeling on your face right now happened 7 minutes ago? Like that's how long it takes. And I just sat there, and the two of us were like looking up at the sun and having that warmth hit our faces. And I was just, it was this almost, I mean, it was this transcendental moment of like feeling sun from 7 minutes ago, and then recognizing that literally that sun is charging everything on earth to work, right?
Mhm.
All of the stuff around us that is happening every day that we are not even cognitively aware of is because of 7 minutes ago that sun just gave us earth everything warmth. And it's extraordinary, the precision and the that we are even here on earth anyway. I mean, it's for us to be here on earth is an absolute miracle, right? It's an absolute
Absolutely.
miracle, right? And when we come back to that recognition that actually being alive right now is the biggest, most profound gift that we could ever ask for. It's like, okay, well, why don't I make decisions right now that allow me to experience the now, right?
Mhm. Well, and what we could say is that so often people don't even understand what the now is because they're too worried about the next moment or feel into that moment. So it's interesting because I think like you or I really try to surround ourselves with people that try to appreciate the now or the little things, right? The little things that are big things, right? So where does one start to understand that like we are all just a byproduct or a molecule of the greater good that receives the 7 minutes later sun?
I mean, it's that like awareness is a big piece, right? Like the I guess when we open this door, um, what are the things that prevent people from presence? And there is a number of things. It's also what are the things that prevent people from contact? I need to take a breath because I have so many things happening right now.
And by the way, this is why I love you too, because you're so transparent about it. It's not like you're like, you know what, I have to show up in perfection and not take a break. You're actually saying, like, I have to take a breath because there's a lot of energy charged around this topic, but also like you're feeling it in your body. And that's how embodied and connected you are.
I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you for reflecting that back. And yeah, there's still a lot moving through me in this moment. What we have to do as a society is not judge ourselves for the ability to not be present, because the reason we're not present is because we've been trained to not be. It's not that I woke up one day and I decided I'm going to do everything in my power to not be present. The world around us has been constructed to not have to be present. So
Yeah,
why would we need to be present when everything that is built today is actually taking us away from presence,
I know.
right? And if we can so easily judge ourselves for not being present, and the reality is we're just trying to protect ourselves, right? We're trying to find safety, we're trying to find connection in all of the easy ways that exist around us.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And we're going to just reach for the closest thing that we can find, just as an infant baby is going to reach for their mother for milk. Like we are just trying to reach for the closest thing that can make us feel something that's safe. So not being present is not something to create shame or guilt or a challenge with. It's something to create an opening with, right?
Yeah.
It's something to create an opening for someone to step into and explore what happens when presence is possible. And in order to do that, we have to basically look at the different ways that we prevent presence from happening.
So it's really interesting because when you're saying this, and thank you for articulating it the way that you are, because I do agree that our society, people, what happens is like, say, let's just use weight loss for an example, right? Because I just interviewed Pamela Salzman earlier around menopause and weight gain and all this kind of stuff. But people
Mhm.
start to feel shame and guilt that, like, the way they did something before is no longer working. So then they have to come up with a new scenario for how we could change our habits, right? So, and I experienced this when I did equine therapy with you, because as I shared with you after, I said, well, I have always considered myself a good communicator. And so I was being reflective of like not taking on like shame or self-judgment, that I was like clearly not communicating well because the horse was not listening to me. And I was so self-reflective that I was like, I'm not doing this right, right? And I don't even believe in rights and wrongs, but that's preconditioning, as you're saying. And so when we're talking about being present and trying to create presence, I think about like our children or my children. You don't have children yet, but you have them in another realm for sure. So I think about like they were raised on phones, and the
Yeah.
preconditioning of like when you're looking for safety, they go to their phone, which is actually the exact opposite of feeling safe. But in this container that's like honestly like so multi-dimensional, they're looking for like a known, like something to link onto instead of like
Right.
creating presence with themselves, right?
Well, the phones just aren't sustainable. It's all temporary. Everything's temporary, right? Everything is temporary. And what's not temporary is the depth of connection that two people or two or more people or the natural world, we can go together. We can only go so deep on our cell phones. And depth scares the hell out of people. I've lost relationships over depth, right? And relationships have ended because of depth. And that's totally fine. And that there's not a problem or an issue with that. But we are going to hold on and reach out and find the thing that allows us to
To breathe.
breathe, to relax. So there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like that's actually a very human thing to do.
I have a question because you
Sure.
just mentioned like it's okay and it's totally fine to like when things don't work out, like if you've lost relationships on depth and stuff. How do you get to that point? So what I would say is, often when we're talking about, depth or really depth is a part of contact and also connection and intimacy and all of that, right? Not everybody's comfortable with it. And I go through the same thing. And I recently, in the last 5 years, actually post our equine therapy, I was writing a whole blog out. I write things many times, like years in advance, that I don't release till later. But I literally was writing about like I've been dumped, right? And it's not a loathing thing, like a self-loathing, but it's an actually acknowledgement and a way of processing the catharsis of actually relationships for me in the last 5 years, where I'm like, wow, it's because I actually chose to set a boundary and then let go and surrendered to the process of letting go. But how does that work for you? Because it's an art. And the codependent in me, she has a hard time like just talking to that little girl saying like, it's okay. It's okay. Let it
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, it is okay. That is okay. And I would say if we compare this to art, which I believe therapy is art, by the way. Therapy is not science, therapy is art. The art of all of this is that it takes practice. It everything takes practice. And in order to practice, we have to be uncomfortable. And in
Hmm.
order to be uncomfortable, we have to sit in what it's like all the time. To and so I would say that the biggest challenge that we face is our lack of willingness to be uncomfortable,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
Our lack of willingness to be uncomfortable. And I am stepping into more uncomfortable places every day to
Hmm.
see what happens. And honestly, after I go through an uncomfortable situation or an uncomfortable time or an uncomfortable day, there is a felt sense of shift that actually like, hey, that was okay. Like I got to see, I was
You
a
suddenly
few
feel
weeks
safe
back,
after that, wouldn't you say?
suddenly feel safe after that.
Hmm.
Suddenly feel safe. Suddenly feel okay.
Hmm.
Suddenly have the sense that okay, I am okay.
Well, I think what we're talking about is fear, right? Like addressing fear. And that through being uncomfortable, you make it to the other side. And what was it was learning, right? It was learning and incorporating that experience into your imprint or your development, as we're saying. Um, yeah.
a couple weeks back, it was like a Friday night. I just worked a full day at the ranch, and I was at home, and I was like, oh my God, I am so lonely.
Mm,
I am just like, and there was everything. I have a wonderful pup named Chief, and him and I had some time, and I was like, okay, what are the things that I could do to not be lonely right now? And it was like a list of 100 things I could go do on a Friday night to not feel lonely. And
mm.
then I just decided to sit there and just experience what it was like to be lonely, and I got through the other side, and there it didn't have to mean anything. Like we're
Yeah.
so
Sometimes we place
conditioned.
meaning on it.
Yeah, we're so conditioned to attach meaning to everything that we feel. Or if it means something, or I can box it up into something, then I can control it.
Kind
And
of label
control
it.
is the enemy of trust,
Hmm.
right? Control is the enemy of our society.
Uh,
Control is, well, it's not relational.
yeah.
And I would say that control is the opposite of contact.
Absolutely. And I think that's where that flowing is. And, you know, there's that quote, I'm not going to botch it up, but it's like Thich Nhat Hanh quote around like feelings come and feelings go, like, but my breath anchors my soul or something like that. And really, first of all, when you share that you felt lonely, it makes me relationally feel normal and it humanizes a human emotion, right? Because truly feelings do come and go. And say like somebody you really did want to hang out with that night called you a second later and was like, "Hey dude, let's like go and do whatever." You would have maybe hopped on it or maybe you would have said like, "Actually, I'm just going to sit right here because I need to feel it," right? And it makes me feel human because I think sometimes people's perception of people's lives when they're bigger and they have a big community around them is that God forbid you feel lonely sometimes. And honestly, like sometimes I want to feel lonely because sometimes you just need to be alone to feel it and process it. And I remember when I was younger and working with this coach, and she said, "You're probably the person that, when you feel lonely, that you call all these people to surround you instead of just sitting in it. But I'm going to invite you to sit in it from now on because that's part of knowing yourself on a deeper level. And we come into the world alone and we die in the world alone. So really, it's that relationship with yourself.
Well, I came into the world wrestling an identical twin brother, so I did not come into the world alone. And given the chance, maybe him and I will wrestle each other out at the end of the day. However, I would, to reframe what I believe you're sharing and correct me,
Yeah.
uh, is solitude.
Mm-hmm.
We can create safety in solitude. We can create safety in exploring the depths of our own horizon. Like we can, solitude is much different than
And
isolation.
loneliness. Yes.
Yes. So loneliness is a feeling. Isolation and solitude are two different things. If we
Those are true.
attach to, yeah, if we attach to isolation, it's because we don't feel safe to be in a relationship or to share what's going on and have that be received and moved through with another or with the
Mhm.
natural world. Solitude is saying, hey, I'm actually going to experience loneliness and go and
I'm
be
going to
out in the
remove
world.
myself from the situation by choice.
I'm going to remove myself from the choice. And I'm doing this not because I don't trust other people or because I can't be safe with other people, but it's because
Or it
I
could be.
am going to fortify. What's that?
I said, or it could be. You may
Yeah,
not
yeah,
trust
because
them or feel safe with them in that moment.
totally. Yeah, and I guess just the separation of isolation and solitude is that isolation is a defense mechanism. Solitude is an opportunity, right?
Mhm.
So I invite people to step into solitude and to explore their depths. Isolation, I would say, is not a solution. Isolation and separation are what have created the divide that we see in our world today.
Well, and I also think isolation can, there's a time for isolation potentially, but also it could create depression and greater challenges around that, right? So I think that we're saying the same thing basically. And
Of course, isolation creates depression because depression is literally energy that hasn't been moved. It's literally like energy that hasn't been in motion,
Mhm.
right? And so it's pretty daggone hard in isolation to not have energy just get nice and stuck inside of our bodies and manifest into all these various somatic illnesses that we see happening in the world today.
Absolutely. So, how do you feel about like, when we worked together, we moved energy, right? So we moved energy in a different way, not necessarily not necessarily by what I thought was interesting about the way we moved energy was that the horse was there energetically receiving because he was within 10 feet of us, he or she.
Sure.
It was a girl. And so,
They were both,
yeah. So,
oh, yeah.
so how do you like, because so for example, today when I finished my workout, I went up on the trail and I got to this one peak and I just was jumping to move energy to like get it out of my body. And I think like you and I work with energy, but we work with people and exchange energy all the time, and with, in particular, with the horses and things like that. So sometimes I can feel people's energy on me, right? And so I'm trying to actually clear the energy to create space and more alignment. And so I am just curious. We are quite the funny pair together, aren't we? Um,
Dust it up.
that's right. I got some salt coming over my shoulder. So exactly. So my question for you is, when you cleared energy with me, right, where we were actually pressing up against one another and using our strength, I would say, right? How is that helping me? It's rhetorical. I know the answer.
Yeah, it's
Our viewers
sure,
don't.
sure. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'll preface this by saying that when we stepped in to work with the horses,
Growl.
you had shared that you were interested in a somatic experience, that you were like, hey, I am there, whether you actually verbalized this or there was an opening there, but you arrived. And my experience was that you were
Ready.
ready to move. Um, So how I move energy with other people is by creating an opening. And creating a space where somebody can step into and know that they will be held through whatever happens next, which, just to switch it back, is in contact, right? So I'm creating a space in contact for you to step into that has structure, and there's the ability to move. And why is that important? Because if we don't move energy, then it just
Stagnation.
it stagnates. It just, and my belief is that as humans, we attach to stuck energy because it creates a story of who we are. A lot of men in the world attach to their pain and their story because it becomes theirs. And it's like everything else can be taken away. But
I don't even say man. I think a lot of people in the
okay,
world.
yeah, a lot of humans attach to the story of their pain because it's theirs. And that's okay. Like all these things are okay. Like this is all just information. At the same time, if we do want to shift and evolve and move into a new way of being, the way to do that is by releasing energy. I mean, energy is and for somebody that's listening to this, that's like, oh God, these people are talking about energy over and over again. What the hell is energy? Energy is this is energy. Me laughing is energy. Me burping is energy. Me going for there is a million ways for energy to move all the time. And horses are such fantastic models for us of how to move energy because they're chewing, or they're swatting their tail, or they're shivering, they're rolling, like are consistently moving energy there. And if they don't, they get sick, just like humans do. If we don't move energy, we get sick, right?
Absolutely.
So we have to find ways to do that.
And
Horses
actually,
are just models for that all the time. They do it in wonderful ways.
it's interesting because, and not everybody is meant to move energy the same way, right?
Right.
So what I would say is, and the imitation for that person. So like, for example, when we're talking about like, let's just use equine therapy in relation to breath work, right? So uh, the same two people may come to my breathwork session. One may go super hard with their breathing diaphragmatically, and the other is actually looks so peaceful, but both got a crazy result, right? And so, for example, in our case, uh, perhaps we used physical strength because probably reading me, you knew that I would need it to move the energy, that I needed a force stronger than me, potentially. Maybe.
Who's to say? I can share that when folks come in to work with horses, horses are looking for attunement. They're looking for someone's inner world matching their outer world. That's how horses feel safe. Guess what? Same for humans. That's why there's so many cool parallels between us and horses. When somebody initially comes in, we'll meditate and we'll slow down and we'll do some presence exercises on the land. Those are several different ways we can move energy, shift energy.
Totally.
In other times, it's essential to recognize if there is a buildup of energy and there's a space that someone's willing to step into. And so we physically, like, we're pushing it against one another. But in that exchange, it was physical, but it was also energetic, and it was also emotional, and it was also spiritual. We were just actually moving in a physical realm because the first thing that we do as humans when we enter the world is have physical contact, right? Ideally, that doesn't happen for everyone. And that's actually a major wound that ends up taking place, is when there isn't physical contact right when a child is born. It's a terrible thing.
Yeah.
But in our case, what the hope or the goal, I should say, is that when we are pushing against each other, you're transmuting whatever is there. Maybe it's anger, maybe it's stress, maybe it's frustration, maybe it's confusion, and all these things.
Whatever.
We're looking at the gestalt of them. We're going each layer, and as you're pushing, you're actually able to push each of those things out at the same time, right? And every step that you take, when you're able to identify what it is, I mean, that's great. And at the same time, it doesn't matter what it is. It just needs to move. And we're so busy attaching stories to what it is that we're moving that we forget to be present, right?
I love that. Mm, it's really great. The way you just described that was awesome. No, but also are you laughing at me?
I'm laughing
Uh,
at yes.
the interesting thing also is many people don't know about equine therapy.
Mhm.
So how do they find out more? Like, where do they go? Like, there's people across the world that listen to this. Like, how do they get educated that it's like a modality to not just move energy, but really to heal? Like, when you were talking about your developmental phases and things like that, we have all of these ancestral lineages that are on us and in us and that we don't even own, right? And so, how do we get more in tune and attuned to learning about ourselves in that way?
There are some great podcasts on working with horses. There are great articles. Maybe if there's a way to attach them to here, I can share.
Absolutely.
There's some really phenomenal, um, yeah, resources. And I would also just say that horses as working animals is something that, in the different stages of our civilization, like wherever you live in the country or in the world, there's probably a horse nearby, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And oh, go find that horse, right? Like equine therapy is a great program, and there are people trained in, kind of combining those two. But there are horses that are out there that we can just spend time with. And, physically attuned beings, like you don't have to go touch a horse in order to be in contact with them. You can be 100 feet, you can be 100 yards away and be in relationship with another being and have an experience and just go observe, go see what that's like. And
I love the fact that you're using the word observe because so often we learn so much just merely through observation. Like you don't
yeah,
need like I think in our first conversation we were talking about mounting horses, right? And what was the you gave an analogy about like we don't need to know what did you say? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I mean, who's to say? I don't know I mean, there's a
You're like,
number of things we can speak to around mountain horse. Oh, I mean, the first thing that kind of comes, I get excited. It's like when somebody sees a horse, like when I talk about the work that I do, oh yeah, yeah, I've been riding before. It's like that's great. Like, and it's awesome that you've had a relationship with a horse and you've ridden with them. And all of the work that I'm interested in doing is not transactional. There's nothing transactional about equine therapy. There's nothing transactional about being in a relationship with horses. Going on a trail ride is an amazing, amazing thing to do. And for me, there's like 100 steps before that. There's 100 steps to get to know and to spend time and be relational with a being before we try to get on their backs. Right.
mhm. Yeah, that
Just
was
like
exactly.
yeah, and it's just like it's when I meet you for the first time and I walk up and I shake your hand and I say, "Hey, Michelle, it's nice to meet you." The next thing I do is then I rub your face and it's like, "Michelle, you've just got the prettiest blonde hair." It's like, no, like that's not that, but that's what we as humans that want to be in control do when we see a horse. We walk up and it's like, "Ooh, pick me, let me." It's like I can be in relationship with something, not just a horse, but with something from 2,500 miles away. And that person right now is my mom. I can feel my mom in my heart and I can be in contact with her spiritually all the time. And
Mhm.
yet we believe as humans that in order for me to be in a relationship, my mom needs to be sitting next to me in this chair.
Mm,
And that's
exactly.
not the case.
I agree with
Right. So how do we observe and experiment with that? And horses are wonderful teachers, wonderful models to be able to do that.
Mm. I love that. I love what you're saying because it's true. So much we're so fixated on the fact that we have to be right there with that person. And again, that goes back to control. And so that's a very, very, very poignant, interesting comment. So tell me about this.
Also, I mean, holding someone is nice. Like holding another being is holy mackerel. I mean, if you haven't done it, PSA, go try it. Like it's, holding another being is a very powerful thing. And ideally the first experience that we have when we come out of the womb is to
Mhm,
be held and to hold another. Right. So
mhm,
I'm not saying don't go out and hold another, but there are so many other ways to explore, relationship outside of physical relationship.
Yeah, I think we were talking about that in the context of divine feminine and divine masculine conversation about how to build intimacy. And you were
Mhm.
relating it to the fact that you work with a lot of men, and your recommendation to them is exactly what you just shared. And I just think it's a really powerful example of how to build true connection and intimacy with someone and trust, right?
Yeah,
So
it takes time. It takes time.
consensual, right? So, anyway, so I am so excited to have you on the panel for this soulful retreat or gathering. And I'm so excited to go to your retreat. But but I think, one of the things that I think is really imperative for people to understand why I asked Nick to be a part of it is our journey to wellness and being whole is multidimensional, and it is energetic, and it is relational, and it starts with contact with whoever that is that we choose to be on this journey with. And I just feel blessed that I am able to do that with you as being one of those people for me in my corner for my healing journey.
Thank you.
Yes. So Nick will be at the Soulful Retreat. He'll be on one of the panels, and we look forward to seeing you there. And then I wanted to just give you the opportunity to share with if there was one thing that you felt that you really needed people to understand as they relate to wellness in general. And it doesn't have to be in relation to equine therapy, but what would you like to share with them? Like, where do they start their journey? And where do they continue the curiosity in it all?
Yeah, thank you. That's a very important question. There are so many different ways to start a journey, to continue a journey, or to end a journey. There's if we had more time in the day, I think we could probably go on about that for a while. I would just say that I open myself to anyone, seeing this or listening to this as a resource. The experiences that I create here in LA and beyond are designed for anyone and everyone, regardless of your background, your ability to be in the natural world, your able-bodiedness, your all of the things. Like my goal is to get and create spaces of safety in the natural world for people to step into. And if you don't know how to do that, that's great. That's fine. Give me a call. I'm up at a ranch in Topanga, Old Canyon Stables. I'm there working with horses. I'm out on the water here quite frequently sailing. There are a number of different ways to get outside, and I'm happy to be the guy that meets you there and get you out okay. Um, and I would say in that regard, if you don't know where to start, you've already started. This is not a process of having to get anywhere beyond where we are right now. The awareness is the first step. And the first step is maybe just going and sitting outside
Mhm.
and feeling the sun and realizing that that sun was from 7 minutes ago and just being like, wow, maybe I'll sit here for 7 minutes and feel the sun that arrived or that has finally arrived from when I first came outside,
Mhm.
and maybe do that every day.
Yeah, and I think,
Maybe just slow down.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's been my word for the year, slowing down. And then somehow it speeds back up, and then I slow back down. So, exactly. Well, that's kind of the highs and lows. But anyway, so I also wanted to ask you what your top five core values are and how you use them in your day-to-day life.
Yeah. Top five core values. So I always got kind of like revert back to some of my like scouting tradition. I come from a family of scouts, the Boy Scouts meaning scouts, just to clarify. And yeah, so I think reverence is extremely important to me. Trustworthiness is extremely important to me. Integrity is extremely important. And when I say integrity, that doesn't mean like, me defining your integrity or me defining yours, but that's like the integrity that I choose for myself and my own agency to move and be in the world. So learning what my integrity is and acting from that place. I believe that being of service is absolutely fundamental to be a human in the world. And probably the last one, as I'll just say, curiosity.
Mm,
I think curiosity is actually the biggest intelligence that we have. and to look at something a million times and always see something a little bit different. I mean, curiosity is a phenomenal asset and a phenomenal opportunity in any given second to change and to shift and to be a part of energy and motion.
Yeah. And to have that impact on the greater good of the world too. Like, and yeah, this is beautiful. I have to say, I'm really thrilled to hear how clear you are about your values
Mm.
because not everybody who comes on is. And it is beautiful because it speaks to the alignment that is inside out, you know? So it's gorgeous. Anyways, can you please leave people with where they could reach you?
540. That was a phone number. So
8675309. Just kidding.
yeah. So you can reach me at www.nicksharp, NICKSHARP.life. Just getting to my website's an easy place to go, or just send me a message on I guess we're
On
at
Instagram mostly or
Instagram,
LinkedIn, whatever.
nicksharp.life. Try to make things streamlined, easy to do. If anyone is hearing this message and also is in a financial situation or struggling, nothing that I do is meant to not be accessible. So please still reach out. We'll find a way to get you outside, and I'd be happy to do that.
That's beautiful. All right. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to seeing you very soon and riding horses with you.
I look forward to doing everything between before we get on horseback. More
Wait,
time
wait, what did
doing.
you say?
I said I look forward to everything in between. We have to hang out with horses 1,000 times before we get on their backs.
I know. God, so many rules. All right.
Rules can be broken. Rules can be broken.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. All right. Well, thank you so much. And I'll chat with you soon. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you so much, Michelle. It's a pleasure to see you. 10 out of town.
Thank you so much for joining me today on the Opportunity Knocks podcast by EmpowHer Purpose and me, Michelle Valenzuela Wolf. If opportunity is knocking at your door, feel free to take inspiration from the journeys of our diverse female entrepreneurs. Their tips and transparency are all available on the Opportunity Knocks podcast. Thank you for your support and subscribe now.